Okay, today we are going to show you how to identify what hose ends you have. Many people have cars with plumbing already in existence and they're trying to replace something that's gone bad on their vehicle and they don't know how to tell what they have on their car. I spent a lot of time on the phone with people clueless on how to use a pair of calipers. You're going to need one of these if you're going to get into racing or any other hobby requiring the use of fine measurements. This is a pair of calipers, and as you can see, it has a dial in thousandths of an inch, and we measure everything in the AN industry with a pair of these, but we also can do it with wrenches and take the shortcut if you don't have one of these at home. First things first, we're going to start with the -3, the most common brake line size. And the nut that swivels that attaches to the male is known as the B nut. On this particular -3 hose end, an Earl's -3 hose end, it is a 1/2 inch wrench that will cover that. But over here, this is also a -3 hose end. This is one that is assembled onto a line already, pre-manufactured. Many manufacturers make this. This line is a 7/16. So if you have a 7/16 or a 1/2 inch B nut, it is probably a -3 and can be nothing else. Over here, we have a -3 90-degree pre-manufactured onto a line, pre-assembled onto a line, and on here you'll notice that the nut is 1/2 inch. So usually when you find a straight pre-made brake line, it will have the smaller nut, and if the other end were 90, it would be the larger nut, so you can get confused just looking at one end of a hose. Over here we have a -4 Teflon hose end, and the B nut is slightly larger at 9/16. So 9/16 would indicate that you probably have a -4. Over here we have a -6 hose end, the most common of the braided lines. And a -6 B nut is always 11/16. As you can see, 11/16. On a -8, the B nut is 7/8 or 0.875 on your calipers. 7/8 or 0.875. On a -10, the B nut is 1 inch exactly. On a -12, it is 1.25 inches exactly. So you need an 1.25 inch wrench or an AN wrench for -12. -16, the largest of the oil lines, is a 1.5 inches exactly on the B nut. So you need a very large wrench for this. Now where a lot of other people get confused is on the red portions of the hose ends. That's called the socket. A lot of people mistakenly disassemble the socket when they're taking the hose end off when they should be turning the B nut. The socket is red for a reason. That means it's a restricted item. Back from the days when they were used in warplanes, this was a non-serviceable section of the hose. This was the service section. This attaches the hose to the end. Once the socket is removed, the hose needs to be resealed and done over. So the best thing to do is, if you're assembling a lot of hoses and you're building a lot of hoses at home, is to get the socket sizes, which are different than the B nut sizes. Socket sizes in the red and blue ends are always slightly bigger. For instance, on the -6, it was an 11/16 on the B nut, but the socket is 3/4. On the -8, it is the only one of the hose ends that has the same size socket as the B nut. Both the socket and the B nut are 7/8. On the -10, we have a 1 inch B nut with a 1.16 inch socket. -12 has, actually, believe it or not, also similar to the -8, but not quite, 1.316 inches on the socket, 1.25 inches on the B nut. Who knows why they did that? Probably to save weight. And on the -16, we have 4/37 with the 1.5 inch B nut, slightly under. Frustrating, but nonetheless the truth. In the Earl's line of wrenches for assembly, our double-ended wrenches in the Earl's line are the only wrenches in the industry that have a nut and a socket size on each end. So if you're looking to assemble hoses a lot, you would want to buy the 230401 wrench kit, which covers both ends of the hose, -6 -8 all the way through -20. Socket sizes and the B-nut sizes are all in one. And that's it for our tutorial of B-nut identification.